come on over. All right. Are you all ready? I'm ready. I'm ready to get started here. So I couldn't be more thrilled to be here today to celebrate this magnificent gift and statue that celebrates our culture and our heritage here. And I wanted, well, it's called, has a title, A Deep Seat and a Long Reign. Not raining like it is today, but rain, R-E-I-N. And I wanted to recognize a few special guests here today. First and foremost, Dave and Melanie. I saw Dave. There you are. Hiding there. Hi, Melanie. Thank you both for everything you've done and for the Double Four Foundation's gift of this incredible bronze. And I really celebrate this. You know, I'm relatively new to Wyoming, but I do, inspired by Dave True, I wear a bolo tie every day. And in fact, we got a metal silhouette of this that we just put in our back patio just a few days ago, or last week actually. So it really means a lot to me personally, as I know it does for everyone here. Where is Randall Luther? Are you here, Randall? I want to thank you. And not here today. And also Governor Gordon for all the great leadership that they provide for our state. Kermit Brown is right here as our chair of our board of trustees. And Kermit, it's a pleasure to work with you in your role as chair and before that as well. And Chris Navarro. Is Chris here?
Yes.
Chris, we didn't meet yet. I just want to thank you. I know about your work, and this is another beautiful example of it, so thank you very much. So there are a couple things about about Steamboat that I want to say. First of all, I've heard from Dave that it was actually drawn by your uncle. Is that right? Great uncle. Your great uncle in 1935. Is that right? And it's become an iconic symbol known around the world. It's truly remarkable, and I think it's fabulous to have it here. And there are many stories about Steamboat, and let me give you a couple of them. So it was an 1,100-pound black horse with white socks, raised near Chugwater, known for tenacity, strength, signature sound, and a whistling that was the result of a broken nasal bone, right? And so I've heard this story many times, but I have the details here. Earned the dubious title of worst bucking horse at the Cheyenne Frontier Days in 1906 and 1907, but has gained international acclaim by gracing, among other things, Sports Illustrated and being inducted into the National Cowboy Hall of Fame. So that is really quite a record, and has captured the hearts and minds of Wyomingites for a century. So I want to thank you all. It celebrates our grit and tenacity from the state of Wyoming that we all love about our culture, and I'm very pleased to be here. So once again, I want to thank Dave and Melanie, and I think I'm going to pass it on to Kermit Brown.
Your remarks are short, so you got to quit. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, President Seidel, David, Melanie. It's so nice to have you here. Chris, beautiful work again. I told everybody if my feet were as far back as that guy's are, I'm getting ready to get catapulted right out of that saddle. But I think some people can ride better than I can. So Chris, thank you very much. If you've never been to his studio in Sedona, you should go sometime. It is just a treasure, a real privilege to be there. David and Melanie always bring us moisture. Today it's rain. Some days it's tears, some tears of joy and some tears of despair. We never know, but some moisture of some sort or another. Your generosity to the university is hard to describe. It's so wonderful. We have so many things at the university, and we owe your family so much. Between you and your brother, who's a good friend of mine, 24 years, I think, on the board of trustees, which is quite a long period of service for the two. My notes are getting soaked.
They're really stuck together.
Oh, I didn't need that. There. So this deep seat and long reign pays homage to the university, to the True family, to the traditions of this university, and it's a wonderful thing that'll be here for many years. It's a wonderful greeting to the campus. One of the main entrances to the campus and a beautiful place to put it. So our lives in this university will be forever changed by this donation. And I really want to emphasize all the service that the Trews have made to the university over the years. And so now it's my pleasure to introduce Dave Trew.
Well, my notes are going to be soaked also. You know, when Kermit was up here fumbling with his paper, his bride leaned over and said, all you have to do is shut up. And shortly thereafter, my bride reached over and whispered in my ear, kiss. I thought, oh, she knows I'm nervous. She's trying to help settle me down. I turned around and looked at her and I said, oh, thank you, sweetheart. She said, no, that means keep it short, stupid. So I'll try to do that. A lot of thanks go out to many, many people to make this a reality. The Board of Trustees, our current chairman, Mr. Brown. My service with Kermit has been a real honor. He's a world-class guy. Don't ever tell him that. He's an attorney, so to speak. But anyway, I really appreciate that. And thank you. You and your administration made this possible. I was here with Bill Nye and Matt Newman the other day when the sculpture was set, and listening to all that they had to go through. There's a water line that goes right underneath the podium or the pedestal, and so they had to have unique piers, one on two sides, to secure this. So anyway, they did a great job. Really appreciate that. Of course, Chris and his artistry. What makes him such a great horse and rodeo artist is he's been there, he's done that. He rode bulls in college. I think he even rode broncs. And his bride, we used to do some team roping up around my brother's house. She finally said, Chris, you can't go anymore. Our earnings come from your hands. And if you get those wrapped up in that rope, we're destined to bankruptcy. So you had to give that up. I want to thank my bride of almost 53 years. Without her, I wouldn't be here. She's provided a great deal of guidance for me. It's called instruction. And she's really supported this project, supported me through my entire life. She first met me in 9th grade, and I've been chasing her ever since. But there's others who have also helped move this project along, and I really, really appreciate all that they did. One last person that I want to acknowledge, he's not here, he passed in 1955, is my great uncle, Alan Tupper Trew. And he, with the instruction of Secretary of State Hunt, at that point, Secretary of State Hunt was having a terrible time with counterfeit license plates. And so, it's a long story, I'll cut it short. Thank you, Melanie. But Uncle Alan came up to Secretary of State Hunt's office. They were talking about what the problem was, how they could solve it, etc., etc. And there was a photo of Hoyt, I think was the writer's name, riding Steamboat on Secretary of State Hunt's desk. And I can tell you, Steamboat was not the model for the Wyoming Cowboy. However, he provided the image and sort of the idea behind it. So that's sort of the genesis of that. And like President Ed said, I think it was in 1936 when he was actually commissioned by Secretary of State. So a little bit about this sculpture. The silhouetted Wyoming cowboy is the iconic image of our great state and this grand university. However, there was a desire on my part, quite honestly, to make this unique. However, I did not want to violate the silhouette. So there are 4 things on this sculpture that are different from any other sculpture of this iconic image. And I'll let you play with that. I'll give you a little bit of a hint. It's modeled after a horse I grew up. So it's not Steamboat, it's Wino. And the reason why his name was Wino is that he had a wine glass on his left hip ram. So that's the background there. Just over a year ago, talking with Bill Nye and some other people associated with the university, we talked about the 2 roundabouts, this one, the one down at North Hall, and talking about the idea. I don't think it's a final idea, but it's an idea of possibly moving Chief Washakie down there. And so I got to thinking, geez, it'd be great to have the Wyoming cowboy here. So you'll notice that it's pointed at the College of Business and the main part of the university. I honestly didn't want the 2 of them headed towards one. Just didn't think that was a good idea. So anyway, just over a year ago, the idea started to form. I called Chris. There's nobody else who was talked with. No other artist was solicited. And Chris said, of course, he'd love to do the project. So it's really an honor for us to be associated with Chris in this great iconic image of the state of Wyoming, the University of Wyoming. And just this last Thursday, on a gorgeous day, the statue was mounted. I came down. I was here for 3.5 hours. Chris was down for a lot longer than that. Lonnie from the Lander Boundary was here. They did a great job. It was really interesting. The last thing I'll talk about is the name. The name is taken deep seat in a long range. And if I remember correctly, our daughter Ashley actually suggested that name. I thought it was a winner. Chris riding roughstock coming out of chutes. He understands what that is. When you're sitting there in that chute on top of the saddle ball, you're just about ready to turn that animal loose. You take a deep seat for a long rein. The reason for the long rein is as soon as a horse goes out, they take their nose to the ground. So if you have a short rein, it's going to be like Kermit getting thrown over his head. So that's the genesis of the name. Really proud of our daughter Ashley to come up with that. She lived with it all of her life, hearing her father say that. So with that, Ed, Kermit, Chris, thank you. And thank you all for being here in this great weather. Anytime it'll give us moisture in Wyoming, I love it. So anyway, I want to also thank John Stark and the foundation. They were the conduit. They worked hard on this, and they kept me on this, making sure it was everything. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris and let him make a few words. So thank you all very much.
Thanks for leaving me enough to let me do the sculpture for you at the University of Wyoming. I'm really proud to have it here. You know, Steamboat, he's played a big part in my life. A lot of people don't know the story. 11 years ago, I did the one in front of the Rochelle. And in 2003, I don't know if you guys remember, it was after hired me to do the one underneath the scoreboard where players all come and touch. I brought that out in 2003. He was fired a week before I got here. I thought, well, it was pretty good. And Joe Glenn was there at the time. And our son was being recruited by UW. He was a pretty good running back. So it was a big day, and I went down there, and he said, I'm going to start a tradition where all the players come out and touch us before they go play. I thought, that's pretty cool. I still do it today, and I'm real proud to have it here. But I started sculpting when I was 23 years old. I rode rough stock, and I tried to make a living riding bulls. It was pretty hard living. In fact, when I quit, I was so poor I couldn't afford to pay attention. So, but rodeo was a big part of my life. And then when I quit riding, I felt like something was missing. I was working in the oil field at the time, and I went hunting with a friend of mine, and we stopped at Harry Jackson's studio in Lost Cabin, Wyoming. He was a famous sculptor. And they just unveiled a piece called Two Champs. It was a big bronze steamboat. It was like 3 feet tall. And I said, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I'd like to own that. And I asked the guy, I said, well, how much is that? This is in 1979. He goes, that's $35,000. I said, wow. I can't afford that, but maybe I could go make one. And so I went to the library, got all the books I could on sculpting. I went to Lotus Art Store in Casper on 2nd Street. And I bought all the, I said, tell me what I need to be as a bronze sculptor. I took all that stuff back, and I didn't have a lot of knowledge at the time, but I had a lot of determination. And I think, you know, the great thing about living in the United States and the great thing about Wyoming is you can become anything you want to come, and you want it bad enough. And I still believe that today. In fact, it's hard to believe time's gone by so fast. This is my 40th public monument that I've created. I've been doing art professionally for 40 years. I've been blessed to have a career that I love and have such a passion for it. I hope to make, I don't know if I got another 40 public pieces in me, but I'd like to think so. I'm going to be 70 in about 2 months, and I'm kind of on the back end of my life, but I still have a real passion. I'm working as hard as I worked when I first started, and I don't plan on quitting. It's something I don't know where it comes from, but it's inside me, and I got to let it out. So I'm planning on. I got 3 more monuments to do before another 11 months. So, like I said, I'm as busy as I've ever been, and I think a lot of it is. There's a great story about my favorite artist is Michelangelo. There's none better. He was the best artist in the world, I think. He still is. And, you know, he died in 1565 at the age of 89. And the average life expectancy for an Italian man back then was 43. And I said, you know why he lived so long? He worked until the day he died, and he woke up every day with a passion and a purpose. And I like that philosophy, and that's what I'm over from. Thank you very much.
All right, well, I think that's it. Maybe some of you want to get dry. Is anyone else going to speak